Hey everybody, it's Drew Scooter from Sleep With Me podcast. This is Talking Tuesday, where I talk about Talking Tuesday, where I'm talking. This is this is a message. It could also be considered a metaphor, but this is about getting tech help, and it is mostly directed, or specifically going to be directed at people on Sleep With Me Plus. But again, I'm going to go into other layers of it too. And I'm going to try to be as quick and efficient as I can because I got to be mindful of all the other stuff I got to get done today. And I'm not good at that. So, but asking for help is really hard, right? And it's very courageous, and it's a way to take care of yourself. And I know there's people like me that struggle with asking for help. And this isn't about any other help than tech help, but it can be a broader metaphor because it is difficult. And reaching out for help or support is where you get it. Like, it's really hard because there's no way. Well, we won't make it a metaphor. There's no way for me to know when that people are struggling, if especially on Sleep With Me Plus, to get their bonus content working. And there's no way for support to know. And I realize that's very difficult. I'm setting aside all that, and maybe you could do it too and set aside any internal judgments or ideas of external judgments you have, and just think about that fact. Like, if you need help, the only way to get for it is really to ask for it. And our support team on Super Plus is there to help you. And all you have to do is send them an email. It's support@supercast.com. Just send them an email for help with any question. Because not asking means you're not getting value out of Sleep With Me Plus if something's not working, or if you're having an account issue that you need help resolving. They're there to help you with account and tech questions for Sleep With Me Plus, right? Beyond that, you could always use a contact form on our website to get a hold of me. But it is better to just contact our support team if it's a Sleep With Me Plus tech or account question, because they just know all the tech stuff that I don't know. And they are able to access account stuff that I don't, that they have they're there to help with those things. A lot of times I can help with basic stuff, but I'm just going to have to direct you to support anyway. And it's not a big deal, and it doesn't cost us anything extra. And they're happy to help. And I realize that there's some resistance there for some people. And I just want to tell you, like, don't suffer in silence if you're paying for Sleep With Me Plus, because what will happen is, like, and you won't get the value out of it in the sleep, and you won't be able to experience all the amazing stuff we have on there. And a lot of people say, well, it's fine, like, I'll just listen to this. But it's like, once you experience all of those podcasts and everything we have organized on there, it changes your relationship with Sleep With Me and deepens it, because it's way more flexible about how you listen. So for Sleep With Me Plus, that's the way to get support. Outside of Sleep With Me Plus, let's talk about that too. Like, because there's a lot of tech questions that people have. I can tell you the one way you do not want to try to get tech help, and because I've been doing this 11 years, is comments on social media. You're probably going to get, like, they're not designed for long form interaction. And it's just going to be like, I know Charlotte on the listener Facebook group tries to help people out sometimes, but it's usually really tough. And it's like, because it's just tough. It's just not a good place to, like, interact and have those kind of questions. But for basic stuff, you might be able to do it, but it's usually not the best thing. The kind of best ways to get help are, what is the thing that you need help with, right? If it's a podcast app, it's like going to the website of the podcast app, or opening up the app and clicking on help. If it's like a service, it's like Googling that service and saying, hey, like, I'm having trouble with my account on this service. What should I do? And a lot of times when you put those search terms in, you're going to get some answers. So I would start with whatever the thing is itself, their help. And sometimes those places will have their own support team that you can contact. And again, this is going through, like, I think I talked about this in another video. I've done this recently. So then beyond that is like, Oh, YouTube. Like you wouldn't believe it, but if you have a podcast app and you're like, man, I've always wanted to build a playlist, but I've never been able to figure out the playlist. Either the app's documentation and FAQ and FAQs and help pages, or YouTube typing in the podcast app, building a playlist or whatever. Sometimes you won't get, if it's a more obscure app, there might not be that many options, but a lot of times you'll be surprised. And that's a really good place to get step-by-step tutorials on almost anything. And including, like, I've been doing research about some stuff we're going to try to do with the podcast. And sometimes I have to like set a limit because there's so much stuff and information on there. Here's one more other one people might not know about, particularly if you're just like, you just don't have a lot of experience with this stuff. Like some people find their way to Sleep With Me not through a podcast app. It's kind of rare, but it happens like fairly often, right? And so even the idea of a podcast app or maybe using a smartphone is not something that comes naturally to you. And that's fine. That's totally normal. And maybe, I mean, I would say take a few minutes and try out some of these other suggestions I'm saying. But depending on where you live, you would be surprised at the resources through your library or other social services. But starting with your county or city or town's library, and you may want to go in there and ask, because the libraries I worked at in the past, they would have teen tech help where teens would volunteer their time. There's a lot of high schools across the country where you're required to volunteer your time in order to graduate, or other community things or teens just want to volunteer because it looks good on their they will volunteer and just help you with anything that they're able to for free. But a librarian is also going to be able to direct you to other local resources that will help you. And those teens can take the time to show you that they listen to podcasts, right? And they want to learn more. Even teens want to learn more because they might not use podcast apps. They might be only using music apps, right? And they'll be like, oh, there's some dedicated podcast apps. This is interesting. So anyway, that's just a couple things, but it all starts with you. And it is like what they call an esteemable act, right? Or what I've been told is an esteemable act, right? It's like taking care of yourself by saying, hey, I do need help with this. I do want help. I don't want to suffer in silence. And because what happens to me when I suffer in silence is I either run or fight, fight or flight, right? That's what I go to. So then I'll either take it out on the company that I'm dissatisfied with, or cancel my account in frustration, or do so. And that's not like the vibe, guess like we're looking forward to Sleep With Me, right? If you Sleep With Me is here to kind of try to put you to sleep. I'm doing the best job I can. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And I don't like it. I got to ask for help millions of times every month on the show. It's really uncomfortable. So, and I do have to ask for help in my personal life, in the metaphorical sense and in the practical tech sense, and try to ask for help on a daily basis practically. But I know it's not easy. So I'm trying to let you know, I don't know, I can't see you exactly where you are, but I can tell you the places I've been where I've felt like, I wish somebody could see me here and see that I need help. And then some part of me being like, well, you got to ask for help. I was like, I don't want to, or, oh, they're not going to. And to be honest, like, you may not always get the help you're looking for. Like, I may be having a bad day. I've had a lot of bad days before. Probably I've mistaken something or not done the best I can in tech interactions with listeners too. Or, maybe there are very occasionally baffling tech issues with any of this stuff of like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Weird. Okay. We don't know. Let's try something else. And I realize that's frustrating, but that may not be the case. And uncovering bugs, as any tech person will tell you, is a huge way to help get things fixed. It's like, wow, I didn't even know somebody was having this issue. Let's help you figure it out. So maybe just taking that start too of like, yeah, like internally, hey, I realize you don't want to ask for help, but let's try to get this figured out. Let's send an email or let's do one of these other things. Or, hey, let's call the library or let's go down to the library. Do they have teen tech time? Maybe they don't, but maybe telling them about it or ask them about it will spur them in, because librarians are always looking for programming because that's part of their job and that's part of their employee evaluations, or at least it was when I worked there. So then helping them design new programs to service their customers will be helpful too. And I guess this comes back to like serving our audience, right? Like I want the amazing thing about podcasting, not just with Sleep With Me, is like how flexible podcast apps are. And the amazing thing about Sleep With Me Plus is how even more flexible that is, because it is a paid service. Like, and if you're not getting the most out of your podcast app or out of your Sleep With Me Plus subscription, I want that for you, because you're using it for comfort in the deep dark night. And that's what I'm here to do. So thanks so much.